Welcome back to Story Hustler. I'm Dylan,
I'm Mike.
and we have Worth Bistline again with us because today Sam was in court and changed his plea to guilty.
Yeah.
Kind of a shocking day. Not
Well,
really.
but it was I thought it was a fascinating
It
day.
was.
And Worth, of course, his family very much impacted by Sam Bateman, and Worth was with us our last episode to give us some that personal insight into your family and to Sam. Today, just cut to the chase. Sam was charged with about 51 counts of all kinds of trafficking children and sex and doing all kinds of crazy things. Some of the victims are your younger sisters and nieces. Uh, he was charged with that, but he went in today and pleaded guilty to two charges, which guarantees, according to the deal he cut with the feds, that he's going to spend at least the next 20 years in prison. He's going to get no less than 20. He's going to get a maximum of 50, but he pled guilty to a trafficking charge.
Conspiracy to transport a child or a minor for sexual activity and conspiracy to commit kidnapping.
Right. So two charges. The 51 went down to those two, but he's guaranteed to be locked up for 20 years. Two of your brothers and some of your other family members
We're
were
in
also,
court.
which was real interesting. And or just dive in your reaction to today's developments.
I mean, I feel awesome that Sam is, paying for what he did, and it did me a lot of good when I called my fam chat and let them all know, and I could hear my little sisters who were victimized by Sam. When I said 20 to 50 years, then they kind of let out a scream and a cheer. So that did a lot of good. I think they're all happy to hear that he's going to be paying for what he did for sure, and that's my initial reaction.
Yeah, I feel like that's all of our initial reactions. And honestly, this hearing today was kind of interesting because they had all the other co-defendants in there, but it seemed like they were really trying to scare the other co-defendants into taking their plea deals and signing them sooner rather than later. Because, I mean, as Sam changed his plea, he kind of took everyone down with him with
Yeah,
everything that he said. Yes, this
that's
happened.
really
This
right.
was true. Because the judge had to sit there and go through a very detailed timeline of all the activities of this
She
group.
read the judge read the statement that was about an hour long, basically detailing every time that Sam had taken an underage girl or taken a second wife, torn a family apart, slept with a child, and they had them labeled as Jane Does, one through about 13 or something. And they'd say the ages of these children that Sam was sleeping with: 9-year-old, 11-year-old, 14-year-old. It was crushing after just hearing the volume. And with every one of the details the judge said, Sam had to stand up there in court and say, "That's true." That yes, acknowledging, which was sort of a creepy thing in and
It
of
was
itself.
very creepy just to hear him let him
Yeah,
get to this stuff.
the family members, some of your family members are now away from him. Some of them are still very much involved in this and in court. Where are you at on all of that, Worth?
So I mean, I'm a little bit, it's almost unreal to me in a way because it feels like such a flash in the pan. He showed up, he wreaked havoc for a few years, dragged a bunch of people in with him, and then it's just done like that. It's almost unbelievable to me. And I get some of the initial reaction when I saw the FBI charges or the FBI affidavits. There's a little bit of unbelief. I mean, it was bizarre some of the stuff that was in there, and you have to think, there's no way. There's no way all of this is true, especially coming from the FLDS background and some of the some of the principles and beliefs of the FLDS, and then seeing this guy just take that and run completely sideways with it. So there is a little bit of disbelief there, and questioning his motives on pleading guilty. I'm very tentative on that, and I mean, 20 to 50 years, you can't dispute that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
He's
But
40, he's 48 years old. So the best case scenario,
He'll be 90.
maybe, well, yeah, maybe not.
He'll be
I mean,
98.
he conceivably by the time he's 68 years old, Is that right? 60, he's 48.
Yeah,
Yeah,
20
20.
years.
I mean, he gets 20 years and he behaves himself, maybe.
Let's hope
In
it's 50.
in the slammer, he gets out. He's still, he's my age, basically.
Let's hope it's 50. Closer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give us, we're all interested in anything you it can shed your, any light on this. You have communicated with folks who were of your family who were with Sam and are now out, and their reaction, uh, and your
No, they
reaction.
were all
Yeah,
yeah, they were all very happy to hear this. And my some of my siblings, asked, like, they questioned the same way I did. Like, okay, hold on, it is April Fool's today. Like, are you like, this is some
that's
kind of a
true.
sick joke if
Yeah,
you're doing an April Fool's prank? But there was a little bit of disbelief there, and then, I mean, I think there's nobody in my family that's not happy to hear that that's out.
yeah,
Now, I question part of the reason I question the guilty plea
yeah.
is one of their core. I don't know how to phrase this. It's like a core history moment in the FLDS. As one of their former prophets, John Y. Barlow, was in prison with this priesthood council, and they were being charged with cohabitation. And John Y. Barlow told the men, plead guilty to this. The history before that was, no, we're innocent of everything. We're innocent. We're innocent. But um, I mean, the story is John Y. Barlow got a revelation that said, plead guilty to this, sign a paper saying that you will never live polygamy again, and then just go home and do your thing. Go and continue living the way you have. And that's exactly what he did. And there were some other men who didn't agree with that and stayed in prison for longer. One of them, who happens to be my great grandfather. And so they've lauded this line of, hey, you know what, agree with them, do whatever it takes, and then continue the Lord's work after you get out of prison. So that's my little bit of hesitation
No, that's a great
on that.
insight. And
Yeah,
was
that's
that
fair.
was that all was that all around the 53 raid period of time, or was that
I believe this was either the 35 raid
okay, yeah.
or the 44.
Wow.
It was earlier than the 53, by the
Big
way.
historic moments in the community for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
It was definitely interesting today because some of the things Sam kind of disagreed with that were read back, and it was interesting what he disagreed with. Like, specifically when they said they came out and was like, he's the prophet of the FLDS. He was like, no, he's not the prophet, he's a prophet. And it was just like, okay, that's like such a minor detail that you get hung up on. But then what later on he was like, Sam, I guess they were reading through something and she was like, Sam ordered something to be done. And he was like, I don't want you to continue to use the word order because I don't force anyone to do anything. That's what
yeah,
he said.
the
I was
judge
like,
was the judge was reading all of these charges, and he was talking about a point that I think was a specific sexual encounter with a child, and the judge said, and then you ordered this Jane Doe number whatever to do whatever and whatever, and Sam was the one of the few times he objected into this an hour long litany of charges. He said, "Oh, I want to object to the
the
use
use
of
of
the
the word
word
order.
ordered because I never ordered these people to do
I
anything.
never forced anyone to
I
do
never
anything.
enforced it, and it was
He's
one of the
like,
few times Sam objected. Most of the times he was, you had sex with this 9-year-old. Yes, you have
you
had
trafficked her, like you took her across state lines from Lincoln, Nebraska to Colorado City. He'd sit there and say, true.
yes,
Yeah, like he's very, it
we
was weird.
you went to a motel room and had group sex and then broadcasted electronically. Sam's that's true. You know, some in some ways he was, there were moments where he seems to be, just absolutely that's what I did, and I
Other
don't.
moments he was like, "Should I say I did that? Who was that?"
Yeah, yeah. It was, and while the judge read it before Sam could agree to signing off on his charges, the judge went through this entire list of his crimes, and again, it took her almost an hour. And the things that
Wow.
struck me is what you noted. It really was in a really condensed time frame of about 3 years, where this guy just appeared on the scene and went nuts. And
Yeah.
several and so she reads all of the charges, and at every paragraph, she stops and, "Do you agree with that?" And, "Yes, ma'am, yes." So this goes on forever and ever. But you're exhausted after the judge has read this litany of crimes, where most of which is just preying on children and dismantling families and moving people around to do weird things. But they finally get to the end of this thing, and during the course of it, he basically admits to crimes that implicate every one of his co-defendants by name. And they were all brought in to listen to this, because I think that there's is it 3 women, 4 women, and 2 men, your brothers, who are still charged in this matter. They have been given plea deals by the feds, and I think the feds wanted them to see their boss is just indicting all of them in his plea statement. So you better get on board and take one of these things, or we can throw the book at you and put you away for life.
Mhm.
That is
Well,
that was the
yeah, that's
dynamic, I thought.
yeah, it's very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as far as the other co-defendants. The striking thing about what you just mentioned, about how he had no problem saying, yes, I did this, yes, I did this, yes, I did this, but then he's focusing on, oh man, like that's not being my word. Like I'm not being honest in that. If you let that word continue, I need to correct this little language thing. um, it kind of points to, and this is just me speculating, that he doesn't think that he has done anything wrong in the crime sense. He thinks that he did the Lord's will, and that would also point to him being a martyr in this. So he sees the walls close, and he's like, I need to martyr myself here, basically. But I'm still going to be honest, and I'm going to make sure that they don't make me sound like I'm not a prophet or a true prophet or whatever it is. However, he wants to focus on that. But the important part there is he doesn't think he did anything wrong. He thinks he
Yeah.
did God's will.
I
That's
saw an interaction between one of the US Marshals and, like, Sam was kind of talking to people around when he first came in, and she was like, "Face forward," and she said it very sternly and, like, whipped his chair around, and then at the end, his lawyer wrapped up with saying, he'd like to apologize for any past, like, I guess, acting immaturely in the past, like, hearings and court proceedings, and I just thought that was kind of an odd thing to add, like, he made sure he's like, "I just on behalf of my defendant," he apologizes for.
the one thing that the statement in Sam's behalf, that's right. I forgot all about
Yeah.
that.
So
He
that was
wasn't like he said his feisty little attorney, the guy that snarled me at the telephone and wouldn't talk to us today, ducked out of the courtroom. But anyhow, he at the very end of the Sam agreeing to everything and saying, "Yeah, I'm guilty of these 2 charges." The attorney made a statement for Sam saying he wants to apologize. And I thought, oh, here we go. He's going to actually say something meaningful to, the people
about
around
the
him.
victims, maybe.
Doesn't say a thing about that. He said, I guess Sam must have misbehaved or been a smart aleck in some of the previous hearings. So he apologized to the court for any immature or unprofessional, I think they
Is that
said,
what they said?
unprofessional behavior in the courtroom. Not a peep about the children that he has raped over the last.
And
Yeah.
one of the women, she was in the corner, like the furthest corner away from us, and another US Marshal was standing right next to her, and I could see her trying to, like, she was smiling and talking to him and trying to more like make light of the situation, and he was just like glaring at her.
Yeah.
And she was like fondly looking at Sam a lot of the like proceeding, and so I was just like, I agree. I just don't think they think anything that they did was wrong.
Yeah. So Sam gets 20 years. Let's say that. Let's just speculate. Is it your thesis that he'll come out of there thinking, I'm still the guy. God still talks to me, and I'm just going to pick up right where I left off and just be a little smarter about it.
I, I agree with all of that except for your last statement. Um, I,
Okay.
I think that
I don't think
I
he's
think that yeah, I think that he's pretty delusional, and I just don't see how any amount of time with him being in there would cause some sort of reconciliation or some change of heart with him.
yeah.
As far as the other defendants, I can see them, especially anybody that's young that got wrapped up into this. I would really like to see them get another shot at life
Right.
in a more respectable manner.
Yeah, then this brings up the point of the people who his co-defendants, again, all of whom had to sit through his sentencing hearing. Uh, there were three adult women and one woman was absent, and then your brother Liddell and your brother Torrance.
Torrance.
And again, when Sam was agreeing to all his charges, he implicated every one of those people. I think the feds wanted them to listen to this.
But there
And
was another girl,
there's an
and she was younger.
there's one defendant, a young woman, and we're not going to identify her. And I hope, she was in court, but she was not in custody. She came in civilian clothes, showed up like everybody else, but then she went and sat in the, sort of the defendant's box, and she was represented by an attorney. She's clearly, I guess, an 18-year-old who committed crimes helping, and she's charged as an adult, but it sounds like she's very much a victim and sort of started committing the crimes when she was a teenager in helping Sam do all his stuff, and then transferred to being an 18-year-old soon before they busted her. They're clearly treating her differently because she's not in custody. I'm sure those are the kind of people you're talking about, people who really got caught up in something and they're young.
Yes. I mean, that's the low hanging fruit of what I'm talking about. There's some more like I have some younger sisters. Leah, I'm not sure if my sister Leah was in there, but she's in
No, but
prison.
mentioned
She
her.
was the one defend. She's still charged?
I think so, yes. And
She
she
was the
has a
one.
No, that was Naomi.
Naomi was not there.
They did mention Leah though in
Yes, yeah.
yes.
all the things they read off.
Yes. And I mean, you couldn't meet a sweeter person than her. It's just she got wrapped up in this thing, and I don't know. She has a child with Sam now, and I don't know. I would like to see her get another shot at being a productive member of society.
And Worth, is there you mentioned that the folks in your family who have gotten out and are doing pretty good. Is there a support network? Do you feel like there's, whether it's the state is providing you or your family itself has the wherewithal and the people, are they getting the kind of help they need?
Absolutely, yes. We have an incredible support network in our family alone, but outside of that, there's been numerous people from our community reach out. There's been, I mean, I would, I think, man, what is the name of Dan Fisher's organization that pays for college and stuff? Like he's
Uh,
been a help with some of that.
a lot of the
Diversity
lost
Foundation.
boys.
There you go. Yes, yes.
What is it? Say it.
The Diversity Foundation.
Yeah,
Mm.
he's a
I
terrific
think that's
guy. He's a
yes,
terrific guy. Yeah.
yes. I've spoken to him a few times. Um, so he's been a tremendous help. But yeah, just it didn't take much for my siblings that were in to transition out. And I think it's that fast flash in the pan type of thing. They got in so deep, so fast. It was really fast coming out. And I would contrast that with say the FLDS in general, where it's generations building and it's a lot tougher to get people out of that. So I think that they do have the support they need. And yeah,
Is it a matter of time before the next Sam Bateman? Warren's still locked up and communicating with his. Is the community still sort of prone to this kind of stuff, or Sam really set a weird standard because he just got so crazy so fast, started delving into the underage sex so quickly and so deep,
So depraved.
so depraved, but and getting it sounds like your brother Torrance bought him those two Bentleys, back to back within a space of a couple of months. He just seemed to amass a power base and then the herd of women he needs to satisfy his appetite so quickly and in such a bizarre way. Is he a one-off, or is can a Sam Bateman happen again?
Well, I would answer that by mentioning this might be ironic to some people, but if you can imagine a group of FLDS sitting around watching a documentary on Chad Daybell or someone, that we're then calling him crazy. That happens. And so, I grew up with a lot of people that I looked at growing up and thought there's some pretty decent people. They're full of common sense. They're productive. They have great work ethic. And then later on in life, you see them do some things that make you shake your head and wonder, like, how could they ever get to that point? So with that preface, I would say that Sam is a one-off of Sam, exactly what he did. Now, is there someone else that might step in and do something that's different but still crazy? Absolutely. I think that there are others out there, and you never know who is susceptible to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I took a little card down. I was hoping to hand it to Sam's lawyer, or one of his sons, or there were a couple of people that, and they all scattered. And so I never got my letter. So if I just want to make it, once upon a time, about 2.5 years ago, Sam, you reached out to me and insisted on a meeting, and I granted you that. So I would like to just now formally invite Sam to reach out to me again, because I think now I want to see you, and you owe me this one. I met you, time to meet me, and we'll have an interview. So Sam, if any of your followers ever happen to see this, and I'm sure they probably never will, but please let Sam know that he owes me one, and I want an interview.
Hey, if you need some people to come with you and sing songs, then I bet I can get some of my siblings and we could.
That's sort of the thing we got going now. I may need, and I know you're a singer. I've heard you on the internet. And that was the one that, as weird as that meeting was with Sam, the one thing that I was just really blown away was by the singing itself. The women were just so beautiful. And that must be part of your family tradition.
Yes, my family is always part of the choir and very much involved in singing, and I mean mostly religious stuff, right? So my mom set us apart singing different parts and harmonies when we were very young, and we just did that our entire life.
Yeah.
My dad plays what, like 5, 6 musical instruments. He can absolutely wheelie a piano. So
Can
yeah,
I
he's
Can I ask you one other question, just because you mentioned your dad, and there were a couple of things when we spoke to you before that I sort of let you were talking, and I didn't want to interrupt. But you said that one of the reasons your father had a falling out with Sam was because of the lunar landing. And people sort of and I thought people may not know. Guys like Sam firmly believe that that was all done in like a Hollywood sound studio, don't they? Your father, on the other hand, I guess, said that this actually they did land on the moon. Is that the correct interpretation of what you were referring to?
yeah, you could say that in a nutshell. Sam, I don't know if you could say Hollywood set or whatever, but the bottom line is he doesn't believe that it happened, and you'll find them trace this back to religious reasons.
Yeah.
Someone's like, yeah, Uncle Roy got up and said that we would never be on another planet or whatever the phrase was. And then people like my dad, he would still kind of incorporate the religious part in and say, well, and then later, at this dinner table, then he says, man, I guess they made it or something. And so like they would just hang on these words. And if it's not even possible that they did because so and so said they never would, then it's impossible.
Over the many years that I've been going up to the creek, I've heard the same line before. And when you mentioned, I just thought I know what the argument was about there. And because a lot of those folks believe in that. But whatever. Hey, listen, it's always great to talk to you. Your bottom line, dude. After a very dramatic day that has to have had a profound sort of
Impact on your family.
Yeah, I mean, I've been traveling all day, so it was a little exhausting, and I'm probably not as talkative as I was last time because it's been a lot to take in. It's been a lot to try to digest. And I mean, I'm happy that it appears to be coming to an end. I'm tentative until I see the exact end of it and see, what some of my siblings have to pay for this. That's where some of the weight and the heaviness comes from. That's my family, and that's people that I care about. And ideally, I would love to see them become members of society that can, normal members of society and be an asset. And I think a lot of them have a ton of potential to do that. So there's a little bit of heaviness from me around that. At the same time, I mean, they need to pay for what they did. There's a price to pay. And when you were talking about Sam asking, my line was asking forgiveness, but it was apologizing to the court. But it became so trite in the FLDS for people to just say, "I'd like to ask forgiveness for any way in which I have offended you." And our parents actually reached out to us around the same time that you met with Sam, and they were kind of doing this, reaching out to all of their kids and asking forgiveness for any way in which I may have offended you. And I guess it was some project that Sam was working on with them. So it's interesting that he pulled that out in court. That's the way I interpret it. He was doing that.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really mean anything to me. It's just something that they said. And when some of my siblings started pushing back with, well, there's this and this and this that I would like, that I'm gonna have a tough time forgiving you for. I'd want to hear a specific apology for this. And then it was kind of, let's just shut this conversation down quick and get off the phone. I did what I needed to do. So there's a lot of nuance to it. I'll be anxiously waiting to see what happens in the next chapter here, and what his sentence actually is, and what the other ones have to pay for this.
Yeah, I think we're all anxiously awaiting the sentencing, which is happening in July. So
Yeah.
update then again. But always great to talk to you. And I'm
You as well.
glad that we got this result for what sounds like just an depraved, awful 3 years of him reigning.
Yeah.
But
That's what yeah, well, thank you. You're an insightful guy and a deep guy. And yeah, if you would listen, just the standing invitation. We'd love to hear particularly how people do, as they get out or as they get sort
Okay.
of through with their stint with the criminal justice system, and wish them
Yeah.
all, because it sounds to me like, as you referred the other day, a lot of good people got really, really led astray by a guy who just has, I don't, whether he has, whether he's evil, whether he has mental problems, whether the end of the day, he just wreaked havoc on a lot of people's lives.
mhm.
I don't think those are mutually exclusive, evil and mental problems. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you keeping me in the loop and
Yeah.
giving me a place to talk about this and explore it myself.
We'll
I
give
try
it
not to have any kind of a line figured out. I like to explore how I feel about it as you ask, and it's kind of a journey. It's free therapy for me a little bit, for the public as well.
Anytime we can
So
help, you're welcome.
Well, and we've had a lot of views on our previous episode, so we want you to have you back, but we just want you to know we're really grateful to
Mhm.
share, because it's
yeah,
not easy. We understand that this is your family. These are your
yes,
brothers, your sisters, your nieces, your moms. Your family's deep in this stuff, and it's got to be way heavy on your heart.
absolutely. But I mean, there's always a silver lining.
Well, let's hope so.
20 to 50 year long silver
Uh,
lining. So
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. Well,
Thanks, Worth.
yeah,
thank
signing.
you.
Good
All right.
night.